I'm obviously already out on YouTube if you've seen any of my videos or listened to any of my songs or been on any of my websites. It's like pretty clear, I think. There's another part of my identity that I don't discuss as much because it's newer to me. In fact, I only really came to terms with it this year. I identify as being polyamorous. I don't know really where to begin other than to quickly define it, which it means different things to different people. Certain people only use it to describe their relationships. I'm not really sure how common that is compared to it as an identification. I feel like I am poly regardless of whether I'm in a relationship. Like, the term doesn't depend on other people. Although if you just use it toward to describe a relationship, there's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like comforted by the term and the word and the concept and the community. But you're probably just confused, or like, why would you want more than one, or why can't you just settle down, or something like that. And I mean, the only way to really answer that is to describe how it feels. I have always had crushes on lots and lots of people. Those used to include boys, but not anymore. So that's a phase that's long over. While dating someone or while being interested in someone, I was always interested in someone else or a couple other people. And the only time that felt wrong was when I was discussing it with other people or thinking about how other people would think of it. To me, it always felt normal, being capable of loving more than one person at once, and having those be healthy and communicative relationships was always something that was important to me, even though I didn't always understand it, because when I first was thinking about this stuff, I was like 9-ish. You know, at sleepovers, when people would be like, "Who's your crush?" I'd be like, well, let me count them all. And it would always be funny to people when I would say something about it, like as if I was joking, or just that, you know, I mean, it's normal to find more than one person attractive, obviously. For me, I was very serious about the possibility of being more with these people at the same time, and I always just questioned why finding the love of your life is supposed to be like the one. Like, you're supposed to find the one, and it's supposed to be such a beautiful experience, and I never really understood why that couldn't happen with multiple people, or why that couldn't overlap and happen at the same time. And I always just never really thought that the majority of people were meant for one person. And I mean, people go from partner to partner, and for me, it always felt like, why can't they all occur at once? If I'm communicating with them all, they all know this is happening. But queer people, we don't see ourselves reflected in the media, really. Yeah, there are some gay characters, but poly is something that I don't see. I've never seen a representation of it anywhere. I can't think of anything. I can't think of one instance off the top. That is a big part of why I never considered it for myself and never really tell people that often. Like, imagine the difference, for example, of like telling a coworker that you're gay versus telling them that you're poly. If you say you're gay, it's like, oh, well, that's different, but I mean, they still want like the same things as us, right? Like spouse and kids and stuff like that. When people say they're poly, it's like, well, what do you want? Like, you can't have 5 spouses. You can't have kids with all of them. You know, like, they're just very confused that it's so different from them. And then that makes it hard to find people. And I mean, people are always like, how am I gonna find someone who's gay? And I'm like, how am I gonna find someone who is not only accepting of me being poly, but hopefully might also be poly themselves? And it's not easy, and it's something that, not daily, but very often I find myself conscientious about, because people are always pushing a one love type of narrative into the world, and that has just upset me a lot and made me feel like I'm not normal and made me feel like I'm like, I don't know, like greedy, or there's something wrong with me, or I just don't love the first person enough, so I had to have another. I can't even like begin to think of how to raise awareness for something that people don't think is legitimate at all. And there's the whole monogamous, like, you belong with me trope, which actually a movie that happened in, which was actually Daniel Radcliffe's movie called What If. That movie, I saw it last summer, and I think that was actually what, like, made the switch click in my brain that I was poly, because it just, I really left the theater crying. Like, that's not, it's a happy movie. It's like a rom-com. It's, he gets the girl. All I remember was just, like, this overwhelming notion from the movie and feeling that you can only have one person, and that is all there is to it. That is all there is to it. Like, there's nothing else. That's, you pick one person and you either stay with them or you just break up and move on. But there's no other options, you know? Like, Daniel Radcliffe basically in this movie is like so intent on getting this girl that he's just very like depressed about her having a boyfriend, and in the end they get together, and I just walked out like, why couldn't they all have dated? Why couldn't they all have dated? And it wasn't even any specific thing in the movie, it just got me thinking about monogamy and the fact that being a polyamorous relationship, or her liking more than one at the same time and accepting that, was unheard of. Like, it would absolutely never be a part of that movie, because it's a rom-com and it's not serious or anything like that. So I just felt a little sad after watching that movie. I can't really explain more than that. And there's just like an emphasis on people being jealous and protective, and just because you're poly doesn't mean you might not be you're not jealous. That's not what it means. It means that you're open, communicative, and honest. And furthermore, not all poly relationships are open, meaning, I said open, I meant like open as in honest, and you talk about things. But an open relationship, like, is not the same as poly. Like, you don't just, you're not open to anyone else. Like, there are closed poly relationships. Like, if you're in a triad, for example, and you don't want anybody else to come in the triad, then you're not in an open relationship. I wrote a song then, the same summer, last summer, about Twilight and Bella liking Jacob, Alice, and Edward, and I didn't really notice when I wrote it. I thought I was just trying to like do representation or whatever. And then I sang it for people, and then I recorded it, and I was like, that's me. Like, that's me. That's me. So, that again just goes to show that that fan works are so important to my identity and my realization of the world around me. And yeah, so all I can say is the next time that you're thinking of including a love triangle, make it poly. Just make it poly. It's just a shame that like so many people won't even allow others, especially their partner, to even discuss or entertain the idea of having a third partner or being open to other people. Like, it's so, you just have one, and that is it. And if you want anything else, you're cheating, or you don't deserve them, or whatever. And that's not how things should be. And if people don't like you being poly, then they're not real friends. I always felt like I was doing something wrong when I liked someone else when I was in a relationship with someone, but if I wouldn't have just assumed that that was cheating, then I could have just said something to my partner, and who knows, if that happened to you, you could still be in that relationship and maybe be in another. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It's not the end of the world if you like multiple people at once. I mean, in fact, many of my breakups went like, oh, I like another person at the same time, that's not fair. But that's just who I am. That's just what I do. And you're not in trouble. Like, you don't have to be, like, in trouble. So, if we just were all more... If communication was a real thing,